Andy here. I'm joined today by Jim Wieser of Wiesoft. How you doing today, Jim?
I'm doing great. How about you, Andy?
I couldn't be better. It is a nice sunny day in Rochester, as you know, a rare day. But you got kind of a funny interview. You're literally right down the street from me.
Right, exactly. And you're here in Rochester. We're not used to sunny days, so I have to shut the blind. So sorry, folks, for the glare. You never say sunny and Rochester in the same sentence.
Yeah, and it's behind me too. It's just one of the reasons I wear these hats, because you wouldn't be able to see with what's coming up.
Yeah, I have the glare going on too here. So
Yep. Yeah,
good
we
looking
had
man.
makeup in before the video this time, but good to see you. I've known you for a zillion years, it seems like. Wanted to talk to you about what's going on with Wiesoft. You guys had some big news this month, earlier, a couple weeks ago, and you had a big announcement in fax. So tell me about that. Tell me what you guys announced.
Sure. So you're thinking in 2021, what the heck is Wiesoft doing in fax nowadays, right? So haven't that ship sailed? But it hasn't. And I've been around the fax space for 20 years in various organizations, from hardware manufacturer to software companies. And an offering I've been wanting to do for that whole time addresses MFP fax cards, right? So those cards are the additional cell into to an MFP. So there are some wonderful companies out there offering cloud-based fax solutions, fax server solutions, fantastic. They integrate with everything, SAP, EMRs, and all that, right? But still, our MFP partners tell us that 35 to 45% of all their machines still ship with an MFP fax card. So we address that by adding an optional fax module into our SafeQ system. And it's not just a connector, right? We're providing the service, and there's no usage fees for the service, right? So a dealer, a customer, purchases SafeQ, they want fax, right? It's just there for them. There are some limits. We're limited to reasonable uses, 1,000 pages per machine per year. And for most transactional customers, that's great, right? Installation charge to get up and going, of course. But as long as you're paying support contract every year, you get your 1,000 pages per machine. So for those customers, they're just getting POs and just the cruise offers, those type of things, all just the ad hoc transactional faxing. It's just built into SafeQ now.
Very cool. So you have this print management platform, and that's what you guys are, in my world, known for. You also do 3D printing, right, in education and Wiesoft Ventures
workflows, and
also is just this technology hub, basically, where you're just looking for new ideas, essentially, to fund. But in my world, you're known for SafeQ and for print management. And so this is like a module, right? And it fits.
Yeah.
So you're telling me that roughly a third of these A3 MFPs are going out there with fax equipped on them, fax boards equipped on them. So you've incorporated a free module into SafeQ.
Right. Yeah. And the usage is free for faxing, right? So think of the economic impact for a second, right? Nobody wakes up in the morning and says, I want to do fax better today, right? When do people think about fax, right? It's when they order the replacement for their MFPs, right? So their fleet's retiring, they're bringing new things in. And what probably happens is the conversation with the sales rep with their customer is, customer, you have 8 machines with fax cards in them. Do you want the same fax card functionality in your machines? Yes, check, right? But what's happening is there's a cost for analog phone lines. So faxes don't do well over voice over IP lines, right? In fact, number one call generator to a lot of call centers are problems with faxing with voice over IP, right? So what happens is customers make that investment to digital telephony, but they still pay for analog phone lines for the machine. So an example of the cost of this is, I called Verizon here in Rochester, right? I said, I'm a small business. I want 5 analog phone lines. Any idea for the monthly cost for those 5 analog phone lines?
I'm going to guess $50 a line, $250.
$60 a line,
Pretty
right?
Close.
Right. So,
Pretty close.
Right, not bad, right? So you're at $300 right there. That's a lot of money times 60 months. So think about that. That's a lot of money. And so this solution can help a customer justify the cost of the entire print management suite. In fact, they save money, and in a way, by automating their faxing, they get print management for free. So that's why we added it, is the cost savings and the avoidance of any problems of faxing with voice over IP lines.
So is this helping them use voice over IP, or they still have to use analog, but you're giving a cost savings?
No, so you get rid of that analog phone lines. You don't need any phone lines. You don't need that fax card in the machine anymore, right? So you walk to a device, you have papers to fax, put the paper in. We have a little MFP app as part of our SafeQ system. Now it's a fax app. Put a phone number in, select from a phone book, hit the green button, off the fax goes, right? Well, behind the scenes, it's being transferred to a cloud fax service, right? It gets sent out, you get a notification saying the success or failure of your job, right? For receiving faxes in, right, you can send them to email. You can print them, of course, using one of our secure print queues, or you can send them to a network directory so you can start injecting those fax documents in a digital workflow.
Wow. So you're able to save on, as a customer, you don't have to buy, obviously, the analog. You have to pay that monthly fee on that analog port, and then you don't wind up having to buy that fax hardware, which is usually an additional fee when you're acquiring that MFP.
Right, a couple $100 to $700-800 per MFP, sure, and then $20 a month on a lease.
And by the way, if you're a dealer, you don't have to support it if
exactly
going forward for the next 3 to 5 years, and so boards go sometimes, and of course that's one of them that probably is something that could be vulnerable to that. So security wise, is there any benefit to this? That's one of the reasons I know that fax is still around because people love their security, right? So how does the security work for this, when that might be a question that I would think end users are going to have?
Yeah, sure. So the reason people use fax is it's the lowest common denominator for secure information exchange. So what do we mean by that? The court system that has held that faxes are secure, right? So that's why you can fax a medical record, you can't email it, right? Courts say it's secure. Nature of the technology itself is it's point to point, right? So with this solution, it builds on the inherent security that fax has, but we add additional auditing capabilities. Right? So one of the things that our SafeQ platform does is provide print and scan auditing. We've added fax to that as well. Right? So why is that important? So as customers in regulated industries need to meet the ever increasing regulatory requirements for audits, the plain paper fax machine's confirmation page fails a lot of those audits. The reason being, all you know is the date and time, a certain number of pages were sent to a fax number, right? You don't actually have that tied to the document itself. And if your audits say you need to prove how information is flowing into or out of your organization, that little paper-based audit log doesn't do it. It's not an audit log. It's a little piece of paper that says 6 pages were sent. You don't know what those 6 pages are. With our solution, you have a copy of the document. So it's in our database. You can run reports on it just like you can run reports for print or scan jobs as well.
So what kind of companies might need that level of security? If I'm a sales rep, I'm out there, talking to customers. Who might be interested?
In general, healthcare and financial services.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. We know that attorneys, they still send a lot of faxes.
Yep.
And while an individual may not send a lot of faxes, I think the last fax I sent probably is when I bought my house 10 years ago, right? Businesses still send faxes, right? So there are things like contracts. Some customers still require a physical signature on a contract, right? If you need to move that paper from point A to point B, right, you can fax it and it's there very, very quickly, or you can put it in a Federal Express envelope and it gets there the next day. Right, your cost for sending a fax with our solution obviously is zero, right? But is low compared to I don't know the last time I sent a FedEx contract. It's $20, I guess, for overnight.
Yeah.
Right. And you think, well, everyone has to be using digital signatures, and there must be other solutions there, and there are. But have you tried to get users to change what they've been doing for 20 years? Right. It takes a while.
I'll tell you, there is, I would say, at least once a quarter, there is something that I need to fax. And a lot of times I'll get away with, a printed email, having to sign it. But when it needs to be either faxed or overnighted, there's something about that signature that's still an issue. So very cool, very cool. Going forward now, when does this launch? How does it roll out? What's the availability like?
Well, so we actually launched it 2 weeks ago. So it's available now.
Yeah.
Right. So it's available with our SafeQ 6 platform. And I think, as you touched on, it's an optional component. We call it an extension. Right? So it's available worldwide now. So we've seen folks outside of North America have differing needs for fax. So traditionally, you think that, well, Europe and Asia, they don't send a lot of faxing, but there's still pockets of faxing. So I've been doing quite a few partner webinars and customer webinars, and I've really been surprised at some of the areas of the world that are still interested in fax. So Northern Asia, right? Australia, Germany, Italy, and it may not necessarily be for healthcare and what's the drivers here in the U.S. It's more about legacy processes, especially in public sector in those areas, right? There's been to get a building permit to add a deck, right? There's a workflow that's been the same for 25 years. And if you need your contractor or an engineer to sign off on something, the government agency accepts it by fax. That's it.
Well, it makes sense, and then for a company like you to incorporate this into that SafeQ offering is great because you're already getting your numbers, your information around on the print, on the copying, on everything going on digitally in and out. And now, this is the one last piece that was probably not a major piece, but that's why you're not really charging for it, right? So
Right.
now it lets the customer get their arms around, not just where the faxes are going to and coming from, but now they can, like you said, have full copies of that document on their system, full accountability. It just fits in with every part of SafeQ. Very cool new product.
Right. And another reason too, I think is for our partners, right? So, print management's a very crowded space, right? There's our competitors are all excellent. We make each other's systems excellent. This is all about the free market, right? And so we differentiated a little bit here. Right. So we have this expertise in the fax space. We are very lucky that inside of Wysoft, we have a lot of people who are experts in the fax space, have worked in this fax space for years. So we know the area. And I mentioned I've been trying to do the same solution for 20 years. Right. Other companies in the fax space, they're great, right? Great integrations with lines of business applications, Epic and all those systems. But yet, there has to be something out there because they're selling 35 to 40% of all machines with embedded fax cards, right? So this is the solution for that ad hoc faxing that a machine may only send 30 pages a month. Great. It's not worth putting a fax server or a cloud fax server in for that low volume. This, customers need print management solutions, right? We have workflow, and now we add fax.
Very cool. Very cool. So, going forward, this will be available. It works in virtually, pretty much every brand of office equipment, MFP, right? So brand agnostic, another one of the benefits of working with this print management platform. It sounds great, Jim. Thanks. Appreciate you coming on the show and taking some time to explain this in a little more detail. We're going to put a link to your page where they can learn a little bit more about this, and a link to the press release, which is on my website from a couple weeks ago when you guys announced this initially. So very cool. Good to see it virtually, even though we're right up the street from each other. Maybe we should, now that things are a little more open up here, maybe we can actually get together and I can see you in person. So
that would be great. We don't have to do a virtual happy hour. We can do an actual happy hour.
Yeah, we could do an actual one. So we will talk offline about setting that up. But great seeing you again, and you take care.
All right, you too. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.